everybody, and welcome to our webinar today. My name is Daisey Fahringer, and I am our manager of product here, and we're just going to kick it off here. We're going to start talking. I've got Rob DiMartino and Lauren Barth with us as well. We're going to be talking about discovering Finalsite and talking about ways that Finalsite can help you with your marketing at your school. It looks like we've got some attendees joining us just a little late here, so we'll give them just a second, and we'll get into the real meat here in just a minute. But before we do that, let's go ahead and introduce ourselves. Rob, do you want to start, and then Lauren, and then I'll finish off?
Yeah, Rob DiMartino, one of the co-founders here at Finalsite and chief evangelist, the CEO with no responsibilities like the true CEO, but really more of the chief storyteller. And I'm excited to join Lauren and Daisey to walk you through Finalsite's product offering to help you build the best digital campus experience for your school. So looking forward to joining you guys today.
And my name is Lauren Barth. I'm the Chief Product Officer at Finalsite. I've been here since 2009. Prior to that, I worked for many years in an independent school, Friends Academy on Long Island. And so really saw firsthand all of the different challenges of the different hats that people wore and all the different data systems you were trying to pull together and maintaining your website and all of that. So it's a really nice convergence for me to have joined Finalsite and be working so closely with our product development team.
Great, thanks. Like Lauren, I also started off working with Finalsite as a client, kind of sitting in your shoes. Did lots of many different things, anything that an independent school will throw at you, that was me. And also then maintain the website. So I've used Finalsite first as a client since 2001, and then in 2007, switched gears and helped Finalsite start a support department. We have an amazing support department today. And more recently, I now serve as, like I said, the manager of product and work with our development team and our QA team, building and working for our product, especially in messages, forms, and workflows, which we'll look at a little bit further in today as well. Looks like we got more people. That's great. So let's go ahead. Let's jump into the meat of the webinar today. Rob, do you kind of want to start off, give us a little high-level view of what Finalsite is, and we'll go from there?
Yeah, absolutely. And I do want to say, just on today's panel, there's a lot of Finalsite knowledge through the years, and it really comes from your practitioner knowledge, Daisey and Lauren, and myself too. Before Finalsite, I was a practitioner at UConn Athletics, building out their first website, and alumni at the university as well, building out their first online community. So there's some really great practitioner knowledge, and we've done a great job as our team has grown to try to add value to you guys at the school admin experience in being able to connect, engage, and really break through the noise in this noisy economy with our digital offering. So to start it off, 30,000 foot level, Finalsite's pillars are really around the service side, which heavily focus on web design, bringing your culture to the web and doing it in a way where it exudes mission, spirit, essence, and your differentiator. So our design team is wonderful, as well as adding in some services to that, like social media management or search engine optimization or pay-per-click with Red Abbott and his team. But that really is kind of that first onboarding process with us, is bringing who you are in a bricks and mortar campus to life in a digital space. I think our team does a wonderful job, and we'll dive into that a little bit more. Finalsite is a SaaS company, so our platform, and again, I'm lucky to be here with Daisey and Lauren, as our platform has evolved from back in 2001 to what it is today. And I think, Daisey, earlier you and I were joking around on just the evolution of that product and where it is today. But the platform really is a create once, publish everywhere CMS that ties into calendaring and blogging and news and email marketing. And it really is empowering to our marketing communications professionals that might wear a couple different hats. So digging in that, I think Daisey's going to, inspire you guys with what the platform could do. Leaning a little bit further into the sticky side, I think we moved ahead to design. So if we can go back to that integration real quick, just from a 30,000, is integrating the website with your data system. So talking to PowerSchool or Blackboard, and we'll dive into that a little more, really creates a valuable website marketing communications platform. And then lastly is, kind of our support team is really bringing the human side of former practitioners to help you out with day-to-day problems or solve some issues with best practices and really dive in. So I'm not sure, I didn't realize I was going to go through all those slides, Daisy, but those 4 pillars are really what kind of put Finalsite above like a WordPress or a Squarespace or a Wix or a software and good luck. It really is a journey with our team, and we're hopefully going to give you a nice little sneak peek with that.
Awesome. Thank you, Rob. Lauren, I'll turn it over to you here. I'm just the driver for most of this, guys.
So when we think about marketing, we really want to start at the very beginning here. And so we're just going to jump into a browser. You're going to certainly have those parents who know about your school, who are going to go right to your website and click the apply now button. And those are the parents you don't have to worry about. With the other, but probably the majority of people are people who don't necessarily know about your school. And how do they become acquainted with your school? How are they finding you? How are they getting there? And so here's an example of what we would call an unbranded search, where I'm not using the name of the school. I'm looking for a type of school in a certain geographical area. And you'll see here what we get in the results are at the top, we have a few ads. And so these are ads that our team can certainly help you think about how to use most effectively. And in the case of an ad like this, particularly if you're promoting something specific like admissions enrollment, you'll want to drive people right to a landing page and probably not your home page to try to drive traffic to a specific place on the site. As we scroll down here, you'll see Google will pull together, an opportunity to show their maps and show you some of the schools that are in that area. And then you'll also see these aggregator sites, so sites like niche.com or Private School Review. And so these are, again, things to think about. How is your school represented on those sites? What are the reviews like? What do you do if you get a bad review? Do you consider, working with advocates of your school, parents and alums who love you, to get them to post positive things about your school there? And we'll just go back and take a slightly closer look at the Google results there. And so one of the things too to note is that while your school might come up in that view, which is great, Google doesn't make it easy to go right to your website. They so if we click Chicago City Day School here, you're going to see the knowledge panel that opens up. And so this is where it's really important that you claim your Google business so that you can own the information that shows here, make sure that it's accurate. And again, this is an opportunity to stay on top of reviews and try to drive people to post positive reviews and deal with potentially negative ones. But you want to, again, make sure the information here is accurate. And so now finally, after all of these clicks, we can go right to the website, which happens to be, of course, the Finalsite School. And so this is a beautifully designed website. There's a lot of really great interaction here that's happening as Daisy scrolls down the page here. The thing to keep in mind with all of this content is we understand that, your primary jobs are not to be coders and designers and to come up with all these things. And so as you go through the process with Finalsite and pick a design or work with a designer and deploy your site and we build it out, we then have to really then focus on the software, because we make it really easy for you to update all of this content yourself. You don't have to be technical. You don't need to know CSS. So again, as we're looking at all of these fancy treatments, this is all content that you can maintain yourself. We're going to jump over and have Rob focus on a few other sites for us. Here's Eagle Hill School.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, Finalsite's working with schools in 110 countries, and we work with public schools, higher ed, independent schools, charter schools. Some of these examples are using our best-in-class design, and I think what that gives is as Lauren said, more depth in design and hand-holding to bring your mission and your value statement to the world. So Eagle Hill is a boarding school in Massachusetts. They have the background video kind of showing a day in the life. They've got some nice navigation. And as Daisy's scrolling down, maybe some infographics or featured stories But all of this gets into that design process. And I think our team does a wonderful job of leaning into your school's team to figure out the whys, right? Why are you different? Why are you worth the tuition? Why is your word of mouth so good that we can actually scale it to the world in a great storytelling scroll? And again, a lot of our homepages are going with that trend of scrolling as the homepage being the digital view book. So that really needs to be more than just information. It needs to inspire people to inquire, to take a next step with you. And I think our team does a wonderful job. The next one is Central Catholic, which is, a traditional Catholic high school. Great photos, great mega navigation, really distinct calls to action to get someone to raise their hand. But as you scroll down, you're getting, living, breathing information of news and student testimonials. And this is one thing where I like is pulling in Finalsite feeds on any page within your site, but you can also do it right on your home page to bring in that dynamic content. But as they go down, it's like showing their differentiating components, whether it's clubs and activities or AP courses or varsity sports. And then lastly, the culmination is discover the power of a Marist education. So really, again, getting that driving force for someone to raise their hand. Daisey's scrolling over the college slider too. Those are some best practice assets that we can actually recycle and reuse to show value, and it's not costing you custom coding work or design work. So we have really built up a nice asset library of college sliders or giving thermometers or campus interactive campus maps that can really work in an affordable way for you guys to deliver a great experience online. So those are our custom kind of designs, and you can see the difference when Chicago City Day School is a JK through 8. I think their branding is wonderful, as well as Lauren brought you through that journey of where mom and dad truly go to Google and they're going to find them, and then they're going to see, a great experience once they get there. But having a great brand and uniformity and quality control, that handing that off to our design team is magic, because you can then bring that in a more animated way, in a more intentional way to drive enrollment or just awareness. If you don't have a budget for a custom design, and those usually take maybe 4 months to make, then you look into our themes, where again, our design and deployment team took an awesome intentional view of how do we get our lower budget schools to be empowered on the Finalsite platform. So some of these themes are choose your logo, your colors, and your fonts, and then get all of your assets collected, whether it's videos, imagery, or content to populate your sitemap. These can be deployed in 2 to 3 months, depending on the type of time you sign on with Finalsite to deploy. So really rapid deployment, but you're not sacrificing the quality. And I think one of our newer themes, Pomfret, I love it because it's a best-in-class feel in a theme rollout. So you can really get intentional by repurposing and publishing your content, but in a quicker deployment time frame. So thanks for Daisey is doing some behind the scenes. You can actually go in here and customize your fonts. You can customize your title. And it really, again, is kind of almost a do-it-yourself theme rollout, but you are going to then get the benefits of the Finalsite platform, which might be a good transition here as Daisey's doing this. This is our theme kind of modeling, where if you press the submit button down there, Daisey, it's going to shrink wrap all of your basically settings to then pass on over to your deployment team, your project manager, to then put in your own attributes. We're going to handhold you with this theme opportunity as well, but this is a really nice kind of do-it-yourself version to see, what theme, fits my goals, what theme is going to help tell our story the best. And we have about 20 plus themes now, so they're pretty wonderful to roll out. Daisy, do you want to are we going to dive into the platform now, Lauren? Is that where we had, yeah. So I think, again, I'm so proud of Lauren, you and your team, because the evolution of this platform has been wonderful to watch from my viewpoint. The amount of elegance and user experience and basically empathy for the admin that you guys have taken is wonderful. And would love to see your guys kind of take on walking people through it.
Thank you, Rob. And I think, again, having the experience of having been there and been in all of your shoes, I think that certainly helps how we think about things. Daisy also spent a lot of time on our support team, so I think also gained a lot of great perspective there as well. So here we have logged into the back end of the admin side of the software. We land here in our dashboard, and the dashboard gives you an overview of the different things and how much they're being used on your site. So you can see how many pages have been created, how many messages, email messages have been sent, posts are, blog posts, news posts, how many of those have been created, and so on. At the top right there, we also have some really important links. These are links to connect with our support team, to our knowledge base, where we have probably thousands of articles walking you through step-by-step, giving you advice on best practices. We also have a training module as well, which is available for all of our users, where you can take sort of a self-paced approach to learning about all of the different modules. We also have one of our favorites, Daisy and mine, buttons there is the share an idea button. And this is where, as a user of the software, you can go in and join our user forum and give us ideas for how you would like to see features change or evolve or be added. And so this is really a helpful resource for us as we roll out software and to really get feedback from the people who are using it. You'll also see our Finalsite blog shows here as well, which again can give you great ideas for how to think about things. We have case studies from other schools, so you can get a sense of what other schools are using. And then we also have our software update blog here. We roll out new software updates every 2 weeks. And so these blog posts will give you a more detailed explanation of all the new features that you're seeing with those releases. So now let's jump on into Composer. So Composer is Finalsite's content management system. And this is where you'll manage the pages that we see on the front end when you go to your website. And so one of the things that we always like to show is how easy it is to create a new page. So if you could do the honors, Daisy, and it's so nice to talk and not have to try to type at the same time. So Daisy's going to create a page for us. And one of the things that you'll immediately notice is, oh, this page looks pretty good and I haven't even done anything yet. When we roll out your site, this theme that you see applied to the styling that's applied is something that will be automatically inherited by all of the pages that you create. So everything that you create with no extra effort or work will just take on the look and feel of the rest of your site. Now you have some options for layout, so you can go in and depending on what kinds of content you're going to show in your page, you might want to change the layout. We won't get into too much detail, but you can also see here, you can change things like headers and footers and banners and so on and so forth. So you have a lot of flexibility, a lot of control. So then when it's time to start adding content to the page, you can either do that directly using our editor here, where you have a lot of different tools available that if you're using Microsoft Word or Google Docs, this sort of a familiar tool set there in terms of posting content. And then you can also use our element library. So our element library has things that are very simple, like content elements or embed elements if you want to embed content from another site, for example. But we also have a lot of elements that tie to Finalsite modules. So one of the things to think about is we have our Composer CMS where I manage all of the pages, but there are separate modules that manage different types of content. So things like athletics or things like calendars will be managed separately in a module, but you can then pull them into pages on your website. You can pull them into your Finalsite app. You can pull them into your Finalsite newsletter. So you're creating those athletic events or calendar events once, and you're able to reuse them all over the place. Now, lots of our schools manage athletic events or calendar events in third-party systems. And so we do have a lot of integrations with athletic systems. We're also able to take in iCal. So if you prefer to use Google Calendars, you can certainly set up your calendars to be powered by the Google iCal feed. And here's just an example of how easy it is to put that in the page. The other thing to think about is Finalsite has really granular permission structures. So you can say, I want Rob to manage the lower school calendar, but I don't want Rob to be able to go and do anything in the pages because I don't know what he might do. So you can set it up that way where he can update events, he can change things and so on, but you can maintain full control over what the pages look like. And similarly, other modules, again, that's available for you across all of the different module sets. You can really limit what people can do or give them access to everything as needed. The other thing that we also want to be keeping in mind as well is that 30 to 40% of your traffic potentially might be coming from a mobile device. So we always want to be thinking about what does my site look like on a mobile device? I'm just going to keep talking while this page keeps loading. Okay, here we go. So here we do have a preview at the bottom here where you can go and say, oh, well, okay, if someone comes to this page on their phone, what is their experience going to be like? Some of our other modules, we won't step through all of them, but another one certainly worth looking at is our resource module. And so this module allows you to manage all of your images, your videos, PDFs, and any kind of files that you upload to your site. When you do upload images and videos, they are optimized for display on the web. And you can also you can organize things in here as well. So in folders, and we have permissions on who can access what. And then you create galleries, which can then be used to post those out on your website. There's a lot of different data associated potentially with each of your files here, where you can, again, add titles and descriptions and things like that, depending on what it is and how you're displaying it on your site. Sometimes that'll take on a bit of a design component. It might be powering something on your homepage, for example.
Lauren, some of the items that I've heard is like the ability to filter on the no alt tagging text and where items were used and unused is just very practical in, you know, a marketing communication webmaster role. And I really do think you guys have taken a lot of view from the user standpoint of how do we manage all these assets in a way where, you know, I don't go insane because there's so many photos, there's so many videos that our schools are delivering. So that's wonderful.
Yep, absolutely. So another module that we're very excited about, and actually Daisey's team worked on, is our new forms module, and that came out in December, and we are still actively adding more features to it. But Daisey I'll hand it off to her to walk us through forms. You're going to have to talk and type at the same time. Sorry.
I know. Excellent. Yeah, I love new forms. Like Lauren said, we just released it, but it's super easy to create a form, really slick, got a lot of cool features in it. So just to show you some of those pieces here, again, I'm creating a new form. I'm clicking to add that field to my form. I can easily change the name of that. If I want it to be parent name, for example, easily add that. Maybe I want to include the prefix, turn that on. Let's also add email, maybe a short answer, right? So you can simply add these pieces as you go through. We also have some currency options where you can collect payments. So let me show you, I'm going to cancel this one. I want to show you some forms that I've already created that show and highlight some of those features that we have. So just real quick here. This carnival one, actually, I worked with a school to kind of help them work and create this type of form in their software, in their site as well. But here's one that shows great little use of images that you can display here. And as you can look or see, we've got some fields in here that are price value oriented. So if somebody chooses to purchase one wristband for this carnival, they're going to be charged $75, right? Now, this field also takes into consideration the conditional fields that we have. So instead of showing a massive form, right, as we think about like inquiry forms even, or these complex forms, you can keep that a very short form and only show them the questions that they need to answer based upon a previous question. In this case, we're doing that conditional logic based upon a date because we're wanting to have an early bird price for that wristband versus a full purchase price kind of thing. So we've got two different fields in here. And then the same thing, right? With this one here, we're showing this, wristband for this name only when they're choosing to purchase more than one wristband so they can fill that information out. And as you look at this out on the front end of the website, it looks very nice, simple, short, sweet, but again, gets more complicated as you start answering questions and wanting to fill those pieces out, right? So again, here's that simple early bird. We're still within that time frame. I pick one, it shows me fill out this one question. I choose 2 wristbands, shows me 2, right? And again, as you're going through and filling out this information, we're totaling that up for you. You can choose if you want to pay or allow your users to pay by an online payment with a credit card or offline, and you can choose how those are going to appear as well. Now, the one thing that I really do love about this, and there's so many other cool things about the forms module, but we have such limited time right now, is that submit button. There's lots of things you can do on that submit. Typically, you want to send that confirmation, that's that receipt, especially if you have a payment. But the thing that I really love is our conditional admin notifications. So let's say that, and we're going to pick on Lauren this time. Let's say that if somebody chooses to sponsor a child for this form, I want Lauren to be notified because she then takes it and runs with it and does a few extra things with that information. I can simply come in here and say, okay, whenever the submit button hits, I want you to email Lauren only when the answer to sponsor a child is any of these, right? And so that's that conditional admin notification. She won't get any notification that the form has been submitted if somebody chooses not to sponsor that child. So that's a really cool feature that I love as well. So forms, again, super simple, easy, click and drag. You can add columns if you want to. I'm just going to mess with this one and show you real quick here. So if we do a short answer, right, I can simply drag in another one and do multiple columns in here to, again, make that form feel shorter and easier to fill out as you're trying to get people to submit those forms on your website. Nobody wants to get to a form and see hundreds of questions. They just lose interest. So that's our forms module, super cool. You do have the ability to see all your submissions in there and information that has been submitted and whether or not they paid online or not, and reconciling those payments very easily.
As Daisy, as we go in, one question is on the payments. So we obviously have Finalsite payments as a merchant account gateway that comes with our packages. But what other systems does the forms module work with in the payment side?
Yeah, absolutely. That's great question. We work with a ton of different gateways. We work with our more common ones are Authorize.net, NMI, which is Network Merchants, IATS. We have PayPal and Stripe. There's a whole long list of different gateways that Finalsite actually can integrate with if you're trying to do or wanting to do that online payment through your forms module. Great question. Awesome. So another great module as we start talking about marketing and communications, right? You're getting people to fill out this form. You might want to send them a message or a thank you. We have a great messages tool, which allows you to come in and send those bulk emails, right? So whether or not this is somebody who's submitted that form or you're just trying to target, you know, that Giving Tuesday type of campaign, or you're wanting to use it in an open house type of event or back to school newsletter, that weekly newsletter, right? This messages tool is really where you're wanting to go in and do that. And we've got a really great editor. These are just a few examples of some of the templates that we have. But we've got a really great editor in here, just like our pages and how we want you to think mobile first, right? Because a lot of people are reading things on mobile devices nowadays. Same kind of features here within that message template, right? You're coming in here, you can preview that message template and you can say, I want to see what this is going to look like on that small mobile device and make sure that I'm not having my user scroll forever, right? The other really cool thing in here, let me just pop back in, is the editing of it is super simple. This looks like a really nice message, but I can simply come in here and I can change this to, you know, inquire now. Change my button. I can easily change the color of that button if I want to make it green, for example. You can easily come in and add additional text. I like to use my little cheat sheet of lorem ipsum here, so I can just paste it in. So lots of easy changing and utilization here. So you can take that, what used to be that black and white ugly email that you send, and just through a few quick clicks, you can make it look really nice. So a couple other things just in this messages tool to look at as well. You can also pull in dynamic content from your website. So we talked a lot about being able to have those blog posts on your site and that COPE concept, right? Create once, publish everywhere. We like to do that a lot in your pages, whether you're creating content on one page and then sharing that to another page, or you're taking a single page and putting it into multiple areas of your website to drive that usage up. You can do that same type of information or concept in messages where you've created those blog posts, you've created those calendar events, you've created the athletic events already. So you can take that information from your website, use this dynamic content piece, and simply come in and say, okay, I want this to show my calendar events that are the most upcoming 5. So let me show you a real quick one of how that really is helpful, especially as we talk about that kind of weekly newsletter, right? So let me just look at, I've got one in here.
Yeah, Daisy, as you're doing that, I'm going to go off of your carnival form theme and say, I think the dynamic content is worth the price of admission. You know, that dynamic content, being able to, if you've ever copied and pasted calendar content and formatting into your newsletters, it's like, you know, pulling your hair out. The other valuable thing that I'm sure you'll get into is the list management, right? Is really pulling in this dynamic content that hits the persona that you're trying to hit. So they open email, not only this time, but the next time. So you're building the value in the expectation of the email, and this dynamic content feature is really key. Blogs, news, calendaring, it's awesome. So dive in. I was going
to say, just a quick question, well, before you leave templates. There's a question, do messages follow school branding, or can we set up pre-made templates for users to use?
Yes and yes. I love it. Yeah, so with templates especially, you can certainly create a template and make it your school brand. But you can also create other templates that are a little outside of your brand that might be really targeting a single event that you want to have a special style for. You can certainly do that. There's also, like Lauren mentioned earlier, there's granular permissions all throughout the software. So if you really want to give, you know, your athletic director the ability to send athletic messages, and you want that to be on the school letterhead or branded email, right? You can give that athletic director just rights to that branded template and not any of the other ones. So then the only template he or she gets to use is that one, right? So you do have all that flexibility. Real quick here, and then we'll jump into the mailing list stuff. So here's that dynamic content. It looks kind of meh right here, but let me show you the power of that Rob was talking about. Here's what it's going to look like in that inbox, right? It's pulling in those posts that you've already created on your website, right? And so you're not having to recreate that. And here we're pulling in, it looks like the lunch menu happens to be pulling in on this one, but you get to choose what calendars you want to put in here. So we've got, looks like our block calendar and our lunch menu. Pasta, that looks really good. Yeah, okay. Anyway, so that's really cool. As we talk about that list management, even that personalization aspect of your messages, getting people to open that up, here's a really great one with a merge tag using that first name. So as you're reusing and creating these lists, whether that's pulling in from an integration that you've got, or you're just uploading a list and here's the name of that first name of the person with this email address, you can take and use this first name. So that way it's going to say, hey, catchy title, Lauren, right? You also have the ability to put in several other merge tags that are pulling from kind of that constituent person database that we have on your site. So you can type in here and put things in here like, you know, dear first name, we're sending you this email, you're the class of this, we really love for you to donate, right? And then you also can use it as a reminder at the beginning of every school year. Hey, don't forget, log into the parent portal. We've got some new information going out. You can use messages for that as well. You also have the ability, let me jump one other area here in messages, to personalize that subject line even, right? So as you get in here, and this happens to be just a silly old little test email that I was doing, but you can say first name, comma, right? I need your help in trying to entice people to open that message. You also can get into fun little things in here. I'm putting in like little emojis, right, into that subject line as well if you want to. So lots of fun stuff to do with that. Did I miss anything else that you guys want to add with messages?
I would say also, just since you're on this page, Finalsite also does have a mobile app. And so you see this little mobile subscriber notification here as well. So that allows you to, at the same time that you send an email, send a message to your app subscribers as well. And then they will be able to see the full details of the message. They'll get a push notification that shows on their phone, and they'll tap that and it'll open the full email in their app. So if a parent might prefer to receive information that way, again, it's that let's come to one place and do one thing and simplify it as much as we can.
Love it.
Yeah, I think the only thing I would say on the personalization too is your data needs to be scrubbed, right? So it's garbage in, garbage out. So if you're going to do, first name, I need your help, you better make sure it's Rob and not sent to my wife, or, is just thinking about that. But we definitely have seen more opens when you go into the intentional way of personalizing. So thinking about that in not only the list management and the personal of the message, but again, I can't reiterate the dynamic content enough, because that's the value that when you're setting up your calendars, when you're tagging your blogs, when you're tagging your news items, it could be easy, elementary, lower school, high school, sports teams, alumni classes. That intention in setting that up is going to be well worth the effort. And then there was a question on just deliverability of these robust messages through spam filters and devices. I think you hit that already on the devices, Daisy, that they're going to be optimized for that. But what about, firewalls and blocking issues has your team run into?
I would say on that one, just specifically, we do sometimes see that a couple of things that, we obviously can't control if someone's reading it, if it's a work email address and things are being blocked. But the other thing to keep in mind, when a message is very long, it can't even get clipped. Google does that automatically. But I think one of the things that we've seen our schools do is as they redesign their newsletters and rethink them, we give you the ability to track click-throughs. So you can see, you really want to be sending people back to your website. The email is a portal to going back to your website where you can then better track what people are doing. And so if you have full stories that I have to scroll all the way to the bottom to see something that might interest me, I may be more likely to miss it. If you just show a little teaser image and a title, am I more likely, if I can see most of that in the first, couple inches of the email, am I more likely to engage with that email? Will you see click-through rates? And so that's something that increasing. And that's something that, schools have definitely measured when they think about, you don't need to put all the content in the newsletter, in the email itself.
Yeah, well put. And then one last thing on the distribution list. So again, these can be uploaded, first name, last name, email. When you're using our integration services, you're going to get more detail, like Daisy showed, in the merging capabilities. And that's traditionally from our student information partners or donor databases. And again, we're looking to build that now with our pulling in school admin into our family. But right now, very robust integrations with Veracross, Blackbaud, PowerSchool, Riddicker, RenWeb, who's now Fax. And again, Ravenna and school admin, we're actually in process of making that all work. But at any time, you can upload that data sheet from any other data source to drive your email engagement.
Awesome. And then one other thing, there's also a question as well about text messages, SMS, and voice.
Yeah.
So comment on that, Daisy.
Yeah, I'd love to. That's actually what we're actively working on right now. So with this messages module, in that message detail screen where we have that push notification, we're also going to be adding the ability to send an SMS text message when that message sends, even a page pop, which is like a website alert that you can show on kind of any page on your site, right, for those snow days type of stuff, as well as that voice automated recorded call kind of thing. So those are things that we're working on right now, actually. So,
yeah, and those are in addition to our alerts that we already have that integrate with our calendar and our athletics, where you can sign up for recaps or cancellations to get texted and sent to your email. But those are more tied into the platform as far as expanding that out, where the mass communication tool that you guys are working on, that's definitely been a value ask for a lot of our clients. So that's exciting to see the progress.
Yeah, absolutely. I do want to jump into one last module before, I think we've got about 15 minutes left here. So we looked at the forms module, we looked at the messages module. But I want to show you, we've got a module called workflows, and it kind of really works well with both of those modules. And it's a module that I really wish that I had when I was a client, because it's going to help with a lot of those kind of marketing campaigns that you're really thinking about, right? So one example is kind of that Giving Tuesday, right? The school that I used to work for, they would send messages out every couple hours on that Giving Tuesday to try and entice people to donate money. And then they had to figure out, okay, well, who's already donated and who do we need to take off the list? And it was a lot of work on that one day, as I'm sure some of you guys even can attest to as well. But this workflows module, had we have had this back then, their day would have been so simple. This is a really great tool where you can come in and whether you want to upload direct people into this of who you want to send to, or maybe you want to pull all of your alumni or parents, faculty, whatever from the constituent module that we've got, or even if you want to do it based upon a form submission, right? You can get people to start into this workflow. And so for that Giving Tuesday example, I've got pulling in 4 different groups in here. It's technically pulling in faculty, parents, alumni, and board members. And I'm going to have it wait until next Tuesday at 8 a.m. before it's really going to start. And then I'm going to send them a message. And that message that's sending is pulling from that messages module. So I've gone in, I've created this message ahead of time. I said, hey, we really need you to join the movement, give now, donate, that kind of thing, right? And then what I'm doing is I'm choosing, and you can set this up however it makes sense for your school, but I'm choosing to say, okay, well, if they've clicked one of those links, a specific link that I have in that message, if they did, then I want to send them this special message from the headmaster, right, or the head of school. If they didn't, then I'm going to send them a different message and try and get them to donate. And all throughout this whole workflow, no matter when it happens, no matter if they get into this first message and they immediately donate money, my goal for this workflow is for them to submit that online donation form, right? So that every step that happens, so we're going to send this message. Before we send that message, we're checking to see, did this person with this email address in the workflow submit that online donation form, right? And so that way I'm not having to then manually figure out, who do I need to remove from the list? Who do I now need to send? Who should I send a thank you message to, right? But instead, Workflows is doing all that for me automatically, and I can literally just sit back and watch it all happen, right? Watch the money roll in kind of thing. So, and we do provide stats on this as well. Now, I haven't activated this one, so you're not seeing many stats. But again, if I've got 400 people subscribed to this next Tuesday, and that goal is set, it's going to tell me the percentage of those users that have submitted that form, right? And then these are all the cute little messages that I'm sending